Think back to this morning. Did you feel just a little bit unsteady as you stepped out of bed? Maybe you noticed that a gallon of milk feels heavier, or that your grip isn't what it used to be. Most of us tell ourselves the same thing. We say, "Well, I'm just getting older." And when we go to the doctor, they usually agree. They give us a sympathetic shrug and say it's normal. But here is the truth, the urgent truth that they aren't telling you. By the time you hit 70, a silent change happens to 99% of us. It is a biological thief that steals your strength, your balance, and eventually, your independence. It is called sarcopenia. If you don't address this right now, you are at risk of a life-changing event. Today, I'm going to show you how to stop the decline and reclaim your metabolic armor. Watch this before it's too late to take control. Section 1. The hidden change. Have you ever had one of those moments where you're just going about your day, maybe picking up some groceries at the store, and you realize that a gallon of milk feels just a little bit heavier than it used to? Maybe you're at home, sitting in your favorite armchair, the one you've had for years. You go to stand up to answer the door, but instead of just popping up, you find yourself using the armrests to push. You might even need a second try, just to get your momentum going. Most of us tell ourselves the same story. We say, "I'm just tired today," or, "Well, I guess I'm just getting older." But here is the truth that often goes unsaid in the doctor's office. What you are feeling isn't just old age. It is a specific biological shift. It is a quiet, steady process that begins to accelerate the very moment we blow out the candles on our 70th birthday cake. In the world of medicine, doctors usually focus on the big things. They worry about your heart. They worry about your blood pressure. They talk about cholesterol. And those are important. Very important. But there is a silent change happening in your body that is just as critical to your independence. It is called sarcopenia. Now that's a big, technical word. Sarcopenia. Let's think about that word for a second. It comes from the Greek. It literally means poverty of the flesh. It is the progressive loss of your muscle mass, your strength, and the very quality of your muscle fibers. And here is the statistic that should make us all lean in and listen. By the time we reach the age of 80, nearly 99% of us will be living with some level of this muscle loss. 99%. That is almost everyone. You see, our muscles are like the engine of a car. When we're in our 30s and 40s, that engine is humming. But starting in our 50s, we begin to lose a little bit of that engine power, maybe 5% every 10 years. But once you hit 70, the decline doesn't just continue, it speeds up, it becomes aggressive. Why does this happen to almost all of us? Well, it's not because you're lazy. It's because of how our cells age. Inside our muscles, we have these amazing things called satellite cells. Think of them as a tiny repair crew, always ready to fix the wear and tear of daily life. But as we cross into our 70s, that repair crew starts taking longer breaks. They become sluggish. They don't respond to the call like they used to. At the same time, our bodies develop something called anabolic resistance. Think of it like this. When you were younger, if you ate a piece of chicken or a steak, your muscles would soak up that protein like a sponge. But now, the sponge has become a bit hardened. It doesn't absorb the nutrients as easily. Even if you eat the right things, your muscles might not be getting the message to stay strong. And then, there is a hidden change, something called myosteatosis. It's a fancy term for something very simple. Imagine a beautiful, lean steak. Now, imagine a steak that has a lot of fat marbled through it. As we age, our muscles can start to look like that marbled steak. Even if the number on your bathroom scale stays the same, even if you haven't gained a single pound, the actual muscle is being replaced by tiny, microscopic deposits of fat. You might look in the mirror and think you look the same as you did 5 years ago, but the strength, the power, The utility of that muscle is fading away. I want you to think about your daily routine. Think about the things you do without even thinking. Are you walking a little bit slower when you cross the street? Do you feel like the walk signal on the traffic light is changing to "don't walk" before you're even halfway across? Are you avoiding the stairs? Do you find yourself looking for the elevator, even if you're only going up one floor? And what about your balance? Do you feel just a little bit unsteady when you walk on grass or when you step off a curb? These are not just signs of age. These are the symptoms of sarcopenia. These are the signs that your body's armor is thinning out. Your muscles are your protection. They are what catch you if you trip. They are what keep your metabolism running. They are the reason you can pick up your grandkids, or carry your own luggage at the airport, or work in your garden on a sunny Saturday morning. Losing this muscle is a threat to your freedom. It's a threat to your ability to live in your own home, on your own terms. But here is the most important thing I can tell you today. Please, listen closely to this. This change, this 99% statistic, it is not a death sentence for your lifestyle. It is a biological certainty, yes, but the consequences, the weakness, and the loss of independence, those are not inevitable. You are not failing. Your body is just changing the rules of the game, and once you understand the new rules, you can start to win again. But first, we have to understand why this is happening and why your doctor might not be giving you the full story. Section 2. Why it's kept quiet. Now you might be sitting there, perhaps in your living room or out on the porch, and you're wondering something very important. You're wondering, if this change is happening to nearly everyone, why hasn't my doctor said a single word about it? Why during your last checkup did they talk about your cholesterol or your blood sugar, but they didn't mention the strength in your legs? It's a fair question. It's a frustrating question. You see, for over 20 years, I've watched how the medical world works here in the United States. And the truth is, the silence isn't usually because your doctor doesn't care. It's because of how our healthcare system is built. Think about your last visit to the clinic. You probably waited in the lobby for 20 minutes. Then, another 10 in the exam room. And when the doctor finally walked in, they were probably in a rush. In America today, most primary care visits are scheduled for just 15 minutes. 15 little minutes. In that tiny window of time, your doctor has a checklist. They have to check your blood pressure. They have to listen to your heart. They have to look at your lab results. They are looking for fires. Our medical system is built on a firefighting model. They look for the smoke. They look for high blood sugar that points to diabetes. They look for the high pressure that points to a heart incident. These are things they can see on a chart. These are things they can treat with a pill, and then move on to the next patient. But sarcopenia, this loss of muscle, it doesn't scream for attention. It doesn't show up as a bright red number on a standard blood test. It is a slow-motion crisis. It's like a tiny, hidden leak in the basement of a house. It doesn't cause a flood today. It doesn't cause a flood tomorrow. But over the years, it quietly rots the very foundation of your health. Because it doesn't hurt like a broken arm. And because it doesn't show up on a basic screen, it falls to the very bottom of the priority list. It stays quiet until a catastrophic event happens, until a fall occurs. And that brings us to the second reason for the silence. And this one is a bit harder to hear. It's the shrug. I've seen it 1,000 times. A patient, maybe someone just like you, mentions to their doctor that they feel a bit weaker. They say, "Doctor, I'm having a hard time getting the groceries up the stairs." And the doctor gives a sympathetic smile, a little shrug of the shoulders, and says, "Well, you aren't 20 years old anymore. What do you expect?" They call it normal aging. But let's think about that phrase. Normal aging. When a doctor labels your loss of strength as normal, they stop looking for a solution. They treat it like gray hair or a few wrinkles. They act as if it's just something you have to accept. But losing the ability to walk to your mailbox is not the same as getting gray hair. Losing the strength to lift your own grandchild is not just part of the process. By calling it normal, the medical community has accidentally created a blind spot. They ignore a manageable, treatable medical condition simply because of the date on your birth certificate. And finally, there is the problem of the tools. If you go in for a heart check, they have an EKG. If they're worried about your bones, they send you for a DEXA scan to check for density. These are standard. They are routine. But in a typical American doctor's office, there is no standard muscle test. There isn't a machine that tells the doctor, "Hey, this patient has lost 10% of their functional strength this year." The tests do exist, of course. There is the grip strength test using a simple handheld device. There is the timed up and go test where they simply watch how you walk. But because these aren't required by the big insurance companies or the standard protocols, they rarely get done. Most seniors in this country are slipping through the cracks. They are losing their physical bank account, their muscle, and no one is giving them a statement to show the balance is dropping. It's not until the account is empty, until the independence is gone, that the system finally takes notice. But I'm telling you this today because you don't have to wait for the system. You don't have to wait for the shrug or the 15-minute rush. You can be your own advocate. You can ask the questions, because once you know why they aren't telling you, you have the power to do something about it yourself. You can decide, right now, that your strength is worth more than a 15-minute checklist. Section 3. Real risks and stories. Now, I want to talk about something very real. Something that goes beyond just feeling a bit tired or needing a little help with the jars in the kitchen. I want to talk about the price we pay for the silence I mentioned earlier. In our culture, in the magazines and on the television, we often talk about muscle like it's something for the young. We think of gym memberships and lifting heavy weights and looking toned at the beach. But as a gerontology expert, I look at muscle differently. I don't see vanity. I see your metabolic armor. That is what your muscle really is. It is a suit of armor that protects your internal organs. It is a reservoir, a storage tank for the amino acids your body needs to survive a crisis. When you have a healthy amount of muscle, your body has a savings account. If you get a bad case of the flu, or if you have to go into the hospital for a routine surgery, your body reaches into that muscle savings account to find the energy to heal. But what happens when that account is empty? Researchers at the Journal of Gerontology have spent years looking at this, and what they found is a bit sobering. They discovered that seniors with low muscle mass have a 30 to 50% higher risk when it comes to their long-term survival compared to those who kept their strength. Think about that, 30 to 50%. It's because when sarcopenia takes your muscle, it also takes your ability to bounce back. Without that metabolic armor, a simple hospital stay can become a much longer, much harder journey. Your body just doesn't have the raw materials it needs to repair itself. I want to tell you a story about a woman named Margaret. Margaret lived in a beautiful, quiet neighborhood just outside of Columbus, Ohio. She was 76 years old. She was active in her church. She loved to bake for her neighbors. And if you saw Margaret at the grocery store, you would have thought she was the picture of health. She was thin. She was elegant. She always said she was lucky because she could eat whatever she wanted and never gained a pound. But Margaret was a victim of what we call sarcopenic obesity. It's a complicated name, but it's a simple, dangerous reality. To the naked eye, Margaret looked fine, but underneath, she had very little actual muscle left. Her body had slowly replaced her strength with microscopic fat. She was thin, yes, but she was also very, very fragile. One afternoon, a sunny Tuesday, Margaret was walking out to her driveway to get the mail. It was a walk she had done thousands of times, but there was a tiny, uneven edge on the concrete, just a small lip on the curb. Margaret's foot caught it. Now, think about this. If Margaret had the leg strength and the core stability of a healthy 76-year-old, she might have stumbled. She might have put her foot down quickly, caught her balance, and maybe felt a little embarrassed. But Margaret didn't have that fast twitch muscle response anymore. Her legs couldn't move quite fast enough to save her. She fell, and she fell hard. She suffered a hip fracture, and for someone over 70, a hip fracture is a life-changing event. The statistics from the National Institutes of Health tell us that many seniors who face a challenge like this, they struggle to ever truly recover their full health. Margaret did survive. She is a fighter, but she never went back to her beautiful house. She couldn't. She didn't have the strength to climb the stairs to her bedroom. She didn't have the balance to use her own bathtub safely. Today, she lives in an assisted living facility. It's a nice place. She has friends there, but it wasn't the plan. She lost her independence, not because of a disease she could see coming, but because of the silent thief of muscle loss. And then, there is sugar. This is something most people don't realize. Your muscles are like a sink for the sugar in your blood. When you eat, your body breaks down food into glucose, and your muscles, they are the primary place where that sugar is supposed to go. Think of your muscle as a large container. When you have plenty of muscle, the container is big. You eat a piece of pie at Thanksgiving, the sugar goes into the muscle, and your blood sugar stays stable. But as sarcopenia shrinks your muscles, the container gets smaller and smaller. Suddenly, there is nowhere for the sugar to go. It stays in your bloodstream. This is why we see so many seniors developing type 2 diabetes. Even when they aren't overweight, their sugar sink has simply disappeared. And this creates what I call the vicious cycle. High blood sugar causes inflammation in the body, and that inflammation, it actually attacks your remaining muscle, making it break down even faster. So you become weaker, which means you move less, which means your blood sugar goes even higher, which makes you even weaker. It is a downward spiral. Weakness leads to fatigue. Fatigue leads to sitting in the chair more often, and sitting in the chair, well, that is the fastest way to lose what you have left. I'm telling you these stories and these facts because I want you to see the why. This isn't about fitting into your old jeans from 20 years ago. This is about making sure that if you trip on a curb, you stay standing. This is about making sure your body can handle whatever life throws at it. It is about protecting your freedom. The risks are real. The stories are common. But the ending to your story, that is something you can still write. You don't have to be a victim of the vicious cycle. You can choose to build your armor back, starting today. Section 4. Take control now. I know I have shared some heavy information with you today. I know that talking about silence and risks can feel a bit overwhelming, but I want you to take a deep breath and listen to this, because this is the most important part of our conversation. There is a word we use in the medical world. That word is plasticity. Think about that word, plasticity. It doesn't mean your muscles are like a plastic water bottle. No, it means they are like clay. They are plastic, which means they can be molded, they can be changed, they can be rebuilt, whether you are 70, 80, or even 95 years old. Your body has not forgotten how to grow. Your DNA still knows how to repair a muscle fiber. It just needs the right signal. It needs you to be intentional. So, how do we send that signal? How do we tell your body that it's time to stop the decline and start the rebuild? Step 1. The gold standard. For years, we've been told that walking is the best exercise for seniors. And don't get me wrong, I love walking. It's great for your heart, it's great for your mood, but I have to be honest with you, walking will not stop sarcopenia. To save your muscles, you have to stress them, not in a bad way, but in a way that says, hey, I need you to be stronger than this. We call this resistance training. You only need to do this 2 or maybe 3 times a week. That's it. You don't need a fancy gym membership or neon-colored spandex. You can do this right in your living room, maybe while you're watching the evening news. Try this today. The chair squat. Stand in front of a sturdy chair, like your dining room chair. Slowly lower yourself down until your bottom just touches the seat. Then stand right back up. Do that 10 times. That, right there, is resistance training. If you feel a bit unsteady, that is okay. Just hold on to the kitchen counter for balance. If you feel strong, try holding a 5-pound dumbbell or even a heavy can of soup from the pantry. The goal is simple. You want to reach a point where that 10th rep feels a little bit difficult. That difficulty is the magic. That is the signal to your brain to start building muscle again. Step 2. The protein revolution. Now, let's talk about what's on your plate. Remember when I mentioned anabolic resistance? The idea that your muscles have become like a hardened sponge? To soften that sponge, you need more protein than you think. In America, we tend to eat a very small breakfast, a light lunch, and then a huge dinner with a big piece of meat. But your body can't handle a huge dump of protein all at once. It can only process about 30 grams in one sitting. So, here is your new strategy. Spread it out. Think about 30 grams at breakfast. Maybe that's some Greek yogurt with a few walnuts. Or a couple of eggs. Think about 30 grams at lunch. Maybe a nice tuna salad or some grilled chicken on your greens. And then 30 more at dinner. By spreading it out, you are giving your muscles a steady drip of the building blocks they need. It's like keeping a fire burning. You don't just throw one giant log on at midnight. You add small pieces of wood all through the day. Step 3. The sunshine vitamin and your circle. There is a silent partner in all of this, and that is vitamin D. In the United States, especially in the northern states, so many of us are low on vitamin D. And vitamin D is like the key that unlocks your muscle strength. Without it, your muscles just won't fire correctly. Talk to your doctor. Ask for a simple blood test. If your levels are low, a simple supplement can make a world of difference in how sturdy you feel on your feet. And while you're at it, find a strength buddy, whether it's a silver sneakers class at the local YMCA or just a neighbor you walk with. Do not do this alone. When we are around other people, our brains stay sharper and our bodies stay more resilient. There is something about the human connection that actually helps our nervous system stay young. Step 4. Become your own scientist. Don't wait for your next annual physical to find out how you're doing. You can test yourself right now. It's called the Sit to Stand test. Set a timer on your phone for 12 seconds. Now, sit in a hard chair with your arms crossed over your chest. When the timer starts, stand up and sit down 5 times as fast as you safely can. If it takes you longer than 12 seconds, that is your wake-up call. It's not a reason to be sad. It is a reason to be action-oriented. Start the squats. Increase the protein. Check the vitamin D. Then, try the test again in 4 weeks. I promise you, if you are consistent, you will see that time drop. You will feel that marbled fat starting to turn back into solid, dependable muscle. You have the power to change the 99%. You don't have to be a statistic. You can be the person who, at 80, is still out in the yard, still traveling, and still standing tall. The clock is ticking, but you are the one who gets to decide how it winds. Take that first step. Do 1 squat. Eat 1 extra egg. Start today. So, here is the bottom line. Growing older does not have to mean losing your freedom. You have the information, you have the plan, and most importantly, you have the power to change your future. Please, do not let this be just another video you watch and forget. Take the chair test today. Add that extra protein to your breakfast tomorrow. Your future self, that person you will be in 5 years, is counting on you to stay strong. If you found this helpful, hit that like button. It helps us reach more people who need to hear this truth. Subscribe to join our community of people who are taking their health back. And please, share this video with someone you love, maybe a friend at church, or a sibling, or a neighbor. Let's look out for each other. I am so glad you stayed until the very end. Stay strong, stay healthy, and I will see you in the next one.